Hello everyone, welcome to my shop. In this video I'm going to be converting my 2016 Mark 7 Golf R from lug bolts to lug studs, as well as just standard lug nuts. Reasons for doing this, I do track this car from time to time. It is kind of preferable to have studs as opposed to the lug bolts. I also do a lot of wheels on, wheels off work with this car, so it'll just save me the risk of damaging the hubs and things like that, and damaging the threads in the hubs. So this should be pretty quick and easy. I'm going to get the vehicle up in the air. I'll go over what parts I've got, what you need to do the install. I'm going to get the wheels off and we'll go ahead and get started. To do this install, first you're going to need a set of conversion studs. They are M14 by 1.5 pitch for the Mark 7, Mark 7.5 Golfs. I've gone with a 75mm overall length stud. This will allow me to run spacers if I ever want to or need to. You'll also need matching lug nuts. Easiest thing to do is to run an open-ended lug nut. I've chosen to go with a closed-in double deep lug nut that should also clear. One last thing you will definitely need, if you have a spare tire kit, you will need some ball seat lug nuts in the appropriate size for the spare tire. As I said, do not forget this if you've got a spare tire, because otherwise you will be stuck on the side of the road without a way to install. Tool-wise for this install, some of it's going to depend on the studs you are using. The studs I'm using have a 5mm hex in the end, so I'm going to be using that for the install. So I do need a 5mm hex driver. I also need a low torque wrench. These are going to be torqued in at about, I think, 15 foot-pounds. We'll also need a torque wrench for the wheels, as well as the appropriate sockets and everything to get your old wheels off, new wheels on with your new lug nuts. You will also need some blue Loctite. 242 or 243 are both acceptable. I've got the wheel off. If you need to, now is a good time to make sure that the face of your rotor is nice and clean. I just had these off, so these are nice and clean. What we're going to be installing are these wheel studs instead of the wheel bolts. There is a short side to all these studs and a long side to all these studs. I said this is a 75mm. This is an extended one with a non-threaded portion on the end just to help with installing. The 75mm ones, I got these from Euro Tuning. They're supposed to be good for up to a 10mm spacer. I'm not going to be running any on the front with my summer tires, but I may run some spacers with my winter wheels and tires, so that's why I went with the longer studs. So to install these, you are going to need a little bit of Loctite. Theoretically, blue is all you need. If you do ever have trouble with these coming loose, you could go to red. It would just make it harder to move them over to a different hub if you ever needed to do a wheel bearing or something like that. You don't need to go nuts. A couple of drops across a couple of threads is more than sufficient. I've got some on here. This particular stud has a 5mm hex driving feature. I'm going to go ahead and start hand threading this in. And what you're going to do is you're going to drive it all the way in until the non-threaded portion in the middle makes contact with the hub. At this point, you need to torque this to 15 foot-pounds. You don't need to take this to some crazy high torque. If you have trouble holding your rotor while you're doing this, you can take a screwdriver and put it into the vanes of your rotor and let it ride up against your socket, up against your caliper. So 15 foot-pounds, as I said, it's not a super high torque. At this point, the next step is work your way around, get the rest of the studs in. One thing to make sure you're paying attention to when you're putting these in, this non-threaded portion needs to clear your rotor diameter. If for some reason it doesn't, you need to contact whoever you bought the studs from. They're probably not the right studs. Either that or you've got a problem with your rotor. So I'm going to go ahead, install these other 4 studs, and we'll come right back. I've got all 5 studs torqued in, Loctited. A couple quick things to watch out for. You are applying Loctite only to the short side. Do not get any Loctite out on the long side where your wheel is going to be bolted up. The other thing that I ran into double check all of your studs before you try and install them. This one right here has some damage. I don't know if you'll actually be able to see it on the camera, but the leading in thread is actually damaged. I'm gonna have to do I'm gonna have to use a thread file on that to get it. I can't even install it, or I may actually just grind it so that I can get it started. At this point, ready to put the wheel on. Make sure that if you did use a screwdriver to hold your rotor in place, that you remove that. This is going to be where one of the nice big advantages to having studs. Put the wheel on, and the wheel actually stays put. The easiest thing to do with studs is to actually use an open-ended lug. I have chosen to go with a duplex lug that's extra long. That'll allow me to continue to it'll give me a nice kind of finished closed off look. These are from Gorilla. I've been running Gorilla lugs on a lot of my other vehicles that see track use, and I've had really good luck with them. So at this point, you just got to go through, install the rest of the studs on the other wheels, put weight on the vehicle, torque all your wheels to 120 Newton meters or 90 foot-pounds, and you'll be good to go. That's it. I said I've done the rest of the wheels. I'm going to put this thing back down on the ground and get ready to go drive it some. As I said, overall, very easy install. Doesn't require a lot of tools. Gives you some advantages. Allows you to run multiple spacers across different wheels without having to get a bunch of different lug bolts and things like that. As I said, a lot of track organizations prefer studs over lug bolts. Said the one big important thing to remember is, if you've got a spare tire kit in your vehicle, make sure that you get new ball seat lug nuts, most likely open-ended, that work with your spare. Also, if you've got, depending on your new lug keys and everything else, check the tools that you've got in the vehicle to make sure that the whatever socket or torque or lug tool you've got in your vehicle can actually tighten the lugs. So that's it. If this video was helpful, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave some comments below. So this thing's going out to the track here real soon, so we'll see how it does. Thanks for watching, and tune in again, please.